Welcome to Priceless Takes.
And we are live from the Gold Coast, Australia. Welcome back, everyone, to Priceless Takes, episode 85, our second pop-up episode, our AFL special. Guys, joining me today, some familiar faces. You guys might recognize them from their scorching hot basketball takes. But today, we're switching gears to the Australian Football League. Oscar, Tyson, how are we doing today, fellas?
Very well, very
Good, thank you,
excited
Luka.
for finally an AFL episode. Very excited.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Look, like I said in the preamble on social media, I got a lot of success from the State of Origin episode. So shout out to the panel who helped me out with that pop-up episode. So now we're going to go talk about some AFL because, guys, a lot of AFL fans who indulge in priceless takes. So I want to try and make as many people happy as possible. I've been watching AFL since I've been a little kid. It's not, my favorite sport to cover. Obviously, the American sports are, but I still I'm a big, passionate AFL fan, diehard Geelong Cats fan, for those of you that don't know. Tyson and Oscar. Oscar is a very passionate Brisbane Lions fan. Tyson, I believe, used to be a passionate Hawthorn fan, but I think he's also been converted. I think he's also been converted to Brisbane. Tyson, where do you stand exactly now?
I'll show you. I'll show you where I stand right now. I've still got. Don't you count me out.
So Tyson's got two teams in the 8. Oscar's got one. I've got one. Look, that's what I'm going to. So how this episode's going to run, guys? We're going to talk about the top 8 as it stands. There's 2 rounds to go currently. A lot of really good games ahead of us in the last 2 rounds. We're going to preview which teams in the top 8 or top 9, really, when you take into account the Western Bulldogs. Who's hot, who's cold, who we think could jump, who we think could slide. And then we're going to talk about round 23 preview. And to end the show, we're going to talk about our finals predictions. This will likely be the only long-form AFL episode, so we're going to get it all out for you guys in this episode. Guys, top 8 as it stands. Adelaide on top. The Cats coming in second. Collingwood and Freo rounding out the top 4 after Brisbane had a shock loss to Sydney on the weekend. Oscar, what were your thoughts on that game generally?
Oh, just a sloppy game from both sides. Sydney played well early, but late in that fourth, as the Lions came back, they did really struggle. But just a sloppy game overall. Missed handballs, missed goals. I think Sydney could have won that game by 30 easily, but just allowed the Lions to stick into it and made it that close. I didn't really see the Lions ever winning that game. I think they really struggled with the mix-up in the midfield without Lachie Neale this week. But, they just struggled. Just the fundamental stuff, missed handballs, missed kicks, not looking like, the possession, mark possession team that they've been all season. So I think just a lapse in the fundamentals. And Sydney's been in some red-hot form as well, which helps them.
Yeah, no, it was just a really poor first half from the Lions. I got to see the game
and the third quarter was awful as well.
And the third. I mean, they always have pretty shocking third quarters, to be fair. But no, the allowing Mr. Heaney to catch 4 in the same pocket. He's kicked 4 in the first half. It's just there was just no real ticker from the back line, to be honest. I was sitting right in front of that pocket, and he's caught the ball 3 times in a row in the same pocket. It was just definitely a bit of a I'd say misunderstanding with the midfield, because Lachie Neale's out. You got that one of the best midfielders in the comp, controlling the tempo, controlling that whole section. Definitely a shock that they have to get used to for the next 2 games. But still can't count them out. They still have a very solid midfield regardless.
I mean, also, the Sydney obviously kept us in it, missing a lot of easy goals, what I thought, but then just missed goal opportunities. You had Zach Bailey's one at the end of the third, which he was about 35 out right front, that he would usually slot, usually one of our more accurate kickers. You had Charlie Cameron missing snaps.
Cameron had a horrible game. He was the lowest rated player.
I don't know how he's not in the VFL at the moment, but just missing snaps. Logan Morris really looking like our only solid 4 quarters forward at the moment. just missed opportunities all round to keep us right in it. And then obviously that spur with the last 3 minutes left where Zach Bailey kicked a couple. But I never really saw us winning from there. We had 4 seconds left to get it inside 50 and get another goal. So yeah, tough one.
No, it was too little, too late for the Lions, and I think Brisbane is a big game team, and I really think they just overlooked this one. And now that they could, and I don't think they will, but if they manage to drop these next 2 games, they could see themselves out of the 8. They need to get on with the job now, and I think from pretty much locking up a top 4 spot to in 2 weeks' time being out of the 8 or in the 8, but having an away elimination final game potentially. I think it's a costly loss, and I just think that it's very uncharacteristic of the Lions.
I think that also has been the story of the Lions all season. Stepping up in these big games. Won a massive win against the Pies 2 weeks ago, and then won a huge game, unexpected win against the Cats a couple of weeks ago as well by about 41 or at the GMHBA, which is very rare. So to have those big games won, and then we didn't help ourselves early in the season, drawing to North, and so it's just been the story all season where we do step up against these top 4 sides, but then we let things slide against teams that haven't been going so well. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, listen, the Brisbane's mistakes could see the fellow Queensland teams slip up into the top 4. Gold Coast
Very
Suns,
exciting.
56 points, currently sitting in 6th, but they have an extra game in hand. Their run home is GWS, Port Adelaide, and Essendon. So if they win those 3 games, they should see themselves in the top 4. Rounding out the top 8, Hawthorn and GWS, as well as Freo, and then the Western Bulldogs, who it seems they are going to really try snatch that 8th spot, likely from GWS, the way that the fixtures are looking. But they have, out of all the teams on 56 points currently, which is Gold Coast, Hawthorn, and GWS, as well as the Dogs do have the best percentage. So if they were to finish equal to any of those 3 teams, they would jump them in the standings. But guys, we're going to transition to a bit of a preview. This segment, guys, is called Hot or Cold. We're going to go through each of the top 8 teams, and we're going to talk about whether they are jumping and peaking at the right time, or whether they are going to go ice cold down the stretch. First team, Tyson, top of the table leaders. Adelaide had a great run of form recently. Do you see them continuing this form, or do you see them slipping up in the finals?
I still see them continuing their form at the moment, especially at home. The AO, very key for them. So, and it's like they've taken very important games as well. You got the Hawks recently. What was it, Suns? I think Doggies last 5. So they're not just rivals like the Eagles or Saints or whatever. So look, they're playing very good, very in form. So I still think they can continue that, yeah.
I mean, Adelaide have been, they had a close-ish game against the Eagles last weekend, which, games like that do happen and can happen for the top sides. I just see them being way too good, especially in these next 2 games in Adelaide. What they've lost, I think they've lost 1 there all year at Adelaide. So I don't see the Pies coming to Adelaide and beating the Crows. And then, they got North Melbourne in week 24, this is round 24. So I think that's a bit of a write-off as well. So I see them probably taking out the minor premiership and continuing some good form into the finals.
Yeah, unanimous across the board. I'm going to say hot for Adelaide. I don't know exactly if I'm going to have them going to the grand final just yet. We'll have to wait and see. But I think at least for the next few weeks leading into the finals and the start of the finals, I think they will continue in their form. Practically, like you said, unbeatable at the Adelaide Oval, unless you're the Geelong Cats, then you might have something to say about that. But look, apart from that, they've picked up some real form there, especially against the top sides. Speaking of the team they're versing this week, Oscar, hot or cold, the Collingwood Magpies?
Collingwood have gone cold at the complete wrong time of the season. Losing 4 out of their last 5. Their form drop off needs to be studied. I've got some stats here for them. From the opening round to round 17, they was 5th for points for, 1st for points against, 1st in scores from turnovers, and 2nd for scores per inside 50. The last 4 weeks, they've dropped off to 13th for points for, 10th for points against, 8th for scores from turnovers, and 15th from scores per inside 50. So that is a major, major drop off. That isn't just a little, end of season collywobbles. That is there is a major issue in that team right now that with 2 weeks left in the season, I don't think can be rejuvenated going into the finals. They are a very good side and can be a very dominant side, but even when you look at the games and you actually watch the Pies the last couple of weeks, they've been just that little bit soft in defense. They're usually one of the best defensive teams in the league, led by Darcy Moore. But they've just been a bit soft. They haven't been aggressive. I don't know. They've just been very lackluster and slow, not getting to the spoils, not getting to contesting the marks. So I don't know. They are going to struggle the next couple of weeks. So I do think they're cold. They are cold.
Yeah, no, completely agreed. Gone completely cold at the wrong time. Nick Dacos still looking great with
fantastic
back-to-back 40-touch games, but clearly not enough. I don't know. It sort of seems like they've just become complacent, sitting quite high on the ladder, and then sort of like, we'll just figure it out when it comes finals time. But no, like you're losing like 3 important games in the last 5 against potential matchups in the finals. So not looking too good right now. But again, the thing is with the Pies, they have that sort of edge over teams like Crom, Dockers, Dogs, and whatnot. It's just that maturity, composure. So you can't really count them out just yet, but it's just not looking good at the moment, considering your finals is right around the corner.
Also, the thing is they have been trying different things. When something hasn't worked, they have tried different things. They've moved Josh Dacos to centre half forward. They've moved Nick Dacos around also a little bit into the midfield and up the field a little bit more. But it just nothing has worked in the last 4 weeks. Like nothing has worked for them, I don't know. They're going to struggle.
Yeah, look, my 2 favourite words in regards to the AFL, I don't get to say them very often. Cold pies, guys. I don't know what's going on with Collingwood. To be honest, I don't know what to pin it down to exactly, considering they have a great coach, they have great veteran leadership, they have great young talent. I feel sorry for all the punters that probably jumped on them at the start of the season, because there certainly was a lot of them. I think, guys, we'll talk about it, I think, more. I'll talk about it more in the pre-game against Adelaide. I think it's just the forward line's the biggest problem. Jamie Elliott had an absolute shocker last week. Their points, Oscar, you sort of touched on it, but their points average has been atrocious. And the other thing as well is because they just can't put points on the board. Defensively, they still look solid. Like, they've been in close games, but they just can't put points on the board. They haven't even been able to crack 100 points against Richmond and West Coast. Like, I feel like that's just inexcusable. And those have both been in the last 2 months.
Games, they just lost 64 against the
I know. I'm saying...
They just put up 46 against Hawk.
No, aside from last week, okay, but I'm saying they had a close game with Gold Coast. They had a close game with Freo. Gold Coast was 6 points. Freo was 1 point in their losses. Obviously, last week was the outlier. They got absolutely mollywopped. But I'm saying against the top 8, they've had close games in recent weeks until Hawthorn. But I'm just saying they just can't put points on the board. And I think that's the biggest problem with the forward line. You sort of mentioned it, Oscar. They've tried putting the Dacos boys down there, but then you just don't get any production from the midfield. It's a similar problem I think Geelong's had in previous years, which now they've been able to fix when they tried to put Dangerfield down at forward, and now they've got people who can be good in the midfield. But Collingwood, cold pies. I don't know what's going to happen to them. We'll talk
Don't
about
mind it.
later.
Don't mind it at all.
No, I don't mind it either. Back to Brisbane, guys. I'm going to start with this one. Brisbane, I'm on the fence currently. I think Brisbane is a team that can just flip a switch instantly and can just gain that form. We saw them win the grand final from 5th place last year, so we know that they don't have to be in the top 4 to get the job done. And we see, Brisbane in the previous years have sort of seemed to peak at the right time. They've sort of gotten this formula where, they have a bit of dip. They go up and down, but then once it hits this time of the season in round 23, I've heard a lot of things about it's the conditioning programs that Chris Scott puts them in. Apparently, at this time of the season, they hit their stride, and that's what happens.
Chris Fagan.
Sorry?
Chris Fagan.
Sorry, my bad, guys. Chris Fagan, Chris and Chris, that's all right. Chris Fagan puts them in those conditioning programs. Look, I'm going to go on the fence. I'm going to lean towards hot. They're defending premiers. I'm not going to just write them off, but huge game against Freo. Tyson, your thoughts, hot or cold for Brizzy?
No, definitely hot. Definitely hot. You like we've seen before in the season before, you can't count them out, really. Like, facing adversity last season, dropping to 13th, coming back 5th, winning very important games, and games that they've come back drastically from, last season, the 46 or 42 point comeback against G-Dubs, taking away the Cats. So they've shown it. Obviously, quite unfortunate without Neil, but having him back at the right time for finals, you've still got the same core. They're looking, like you said, they can flip the switch at the right time, and they've shown it. So definitely can't count them out as of yet. So
as you guys touched on, they're very much microwave sort of team, can get hot very quickly. The one thing about the Lions, and Tyson touched on it, is when they are faced with adversity, they tend to step up, and they are faced with the scary proposition of them dropping out of the 8 with 2 very tough matches coming up, one against Freo away, and then Hawthorn, who can be a very scary team as well. So I think with that, they will step up, because that's what we've seen them do for the past couple seasons, is when they're in a situation when their back's against the wall, they do step up and they do win big games. Also, I think, it would have been nice for them to win against Sydney, obviously, but I think they will learn a lot from that. And I think we saw, sections of really good footy from them last week, and then we saw some sections of terrible footy, but I think they will learn a lot from that. And and I am leaning towards hot, because I can't say the Lions are cold at the moment when they've won 5 out of the last 7.
Yeah, Tyson, back to you, and then Oscar, I'll go from you again. Going to my team, the Cats, sitting second on the table currently. They got the Swans and the Tigers, both away games to end the season. Tyson, hot or cold for Geelong?
Hot and scary.
Very hot.
Very hot and scary. They are looking very, very intimidating. Jezza Cameron in form. Sort of like the, I think of them sort of like the Pies situation, not situation, but their veteran, their mindset. It's a very well-oiled machine. They've got all the key pieces, and it's looking like their time to shine at the moment, the right time. And recently with the games, they've faced, I guess, easier teams, but they're doing the right thing by putting them away by 100. 100 against, what was it, Port, 100 North, and then 50 against the Bombers. So they're doing the right thing at the right time, and that's only just going to leak straight into the finals. And I think they've got a lot to bounce back from last season. I think that's a very big burden on them at the moment. That's just going to fuel the fire. So hot, dangerous, scary. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, Geelong have been a very, very classy team for a very, very long time, and they are showing that class this season especially. They've won their last 4 games by a lot of points, as Tyson said. absolutely no close games, just putting these, more mid teams away. Just a classy list. I don't see them being too threatened in these last two games. Sydney might have a little bit to say. I don't think so. It's at the SCG, so you never know. But I think the Cats are in some red hot form.
Yeah, I think Geelong's sort of reaping the rewards of having a top-heavy schedule at the start of the season. And similar, I think, what we saw with Adelaide last week, and Freo conversely as well, how against West Coast and Carlton, how they really had to drag it out at the end of the game. Maybe you can say they're looking forward to their opponents the next week, but Geelong doesn't give them a chance. Essendon, they could have beaten by more, but they still got the job done. Port Adelaide as well, North, St Kilda. So, they're putting these teams away. They don't play particularly well in Sydney, but I think Sydney's coming off a bit of a high last week against Brisbane. And to Sydney's credit, they're playing with house money at this point. They can't make the 8. They're not going to be a bad enough team to get a high draft pick. So they're really looking to build for next year. But I think Geelong, with this form, needs to come in and they need to get the job done early. I think the Cats are very, very scary, and they should set up second place for themselves to give them a home prelim. Hopefully, I really like where Geelong is going right now. The other Queensland team, guys, Oscar, the Gold Coast Suns. What are your thoughts on their form right now? Do you think they're hot or cold?
The Suns are in, I'm going to say, quite hot form. I mean, coming home, they've got 3 games left because of the rescheduled game. And I'm going to say apart from the Giants, which is at home, Giants is at home, isn't it? I think they've got a fairly easy schedule on the way home, on the way home to the finals. So I think that the Suns will be able to win the next 3 games, especially, their last games against Essendon and the last 2 games against Port and Essendon. And I do see them winning the next 3 games. I mean, Noah Anderson has been in some red hot form this season. He's averaging 30 odd touches and 7 clearances. Matty Rowell has been absolutely dominant. We've finally seen him step up to that next level. And they have just been monstering teams. I mean, they monstered the Lions at the People's. If the grand, I was talking to Tyson about this. If the grand finals at the People's First Stadium, I would have the Gold Coast Suns winning it all. So, I mean, they don't really lose there. They've lost 1 out of 7 games this season there. So I'm going to say, they're in some really good form, and I think they're going to continue that form with these last 3 games and put themselves in a very, very, very smart position for finals.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like, their home record is just nuts. I don't see them dropping, especially the very last 2 games, Bombers and Port. I think it's just going to get them in form even more, to be honest. Midfield crazy, Matty Rowell stepping up, Anderson. And then even the forwards, Ben King's been looking much better from last season. Yeah. And Ben Long stepping up every now and then. So, look, they're looking good. I think they're quite hot at the right time right now. Especially at People's First Stadium.
Finally, it's good to see the Suns.
Yeah, listen, I agree.
Some time.
I like the Suns more so just because, now living on the Gold Coast, don't mind supporting the local team. For me, guys, I say hot as well, but I'm going to talk more about the coach, because that's where I think for a team that's never managed to play finals footy before, I think having a multi-time premiership winning coach is very important. Someone who's been there, knows the big stage, knows how to handle the big games. I think Damien Hardwick's going to be pretty key to this run for Gold Coast. I do see them. I'm going to have them winning the next 3 games going into the finals, although I'm not convinced about GWS. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, though. But for me, Gold Coast, as you said, the incredible home record, the only loss being to Freo. And, that Freo's a good team. So, look, Gold Coast for me, I think are hot. I'm a little bit concerned because although, the coach is there, the players are the ones playing, and for a club that's never played finals footy before, I think potentially it could maybe play into a little bit of it in the wrong moment. But heading into the finals, I think they will be in well good form.
Yeah, I think especially if they do win the next 3 games, having that game in hand in the finals is just going to give them more security. And if they do drop that first game, they still have a home second game. So I think that's just only going to give them, going to calm those finals nerves if they make the top 4.
Yeah, we'll move to the team the Gold Coast are playing this week, actually, Oscar. I'll head back to you. GWS. A lot of people, a bit of speculation, they could drop out of the A. A couple of people think they could go on a run. So where do you see the Giants and their form right now, hot or cold?
See, the Giants can be a very threatening team, as we've seen this season. The issue is they've lost some key players at the wrong time. Jesse Hogan being out or questionable for next game.
Jake Stringer just went down.
Jake Stringer, who's a key player, also out with a hamstring injury, I think it is. So they can be a very threatening team, as we've seen this season. They have had some good form coming into the next couple of weeks. I think they're just going to go cold. Especially against the Suns this week. I think the Suns are going to be too good for them. We'll see what happens against the Saints, but I do have them beating the Saints, but I think they're going to lose against the Suns, and I think they're just going to make the 8, just going to slide in. So, yeah, I don't know, lukewarm, coldish. I don't know. I think they'll go a little bit cold for this weekend, and then see what they do against the Saints in the last.
No, I agree as well. I'm not really moved at the moment by them, losing those key pieces at the wrong time, going into finals footy. But still, you can't sort of count out their midfield and back.
Well, it's
defense as well.
Especially if Jesse Hogan's back. I do. They're going to be
definitely get a shot.
They're definitely going to have a crack at it. But
having him questionable is
not ideal.
And Jake Stringer out. It's not. Your forwards just sort of crumbled, and they're good at putting some good numbers on the board sometimes. We've seen it last season. But also last season, we've seen them choke twice. Yeah. But then going against last season with sort of the same core, they've choked twice, big games, Yeah. They've dropped those key ones. So sort of like they can't really get there at the end. They just take the foot off the gas and other teams build the momentum.
I don't see them being too threatening in the finals period.
No. So, I'd just put them smack bang in the middle, I'd say. Not really.
Yeah, I think it sort of determines how they sort of play out. Because for me, I think they'll stay in the 8 as well. And I don't think, from what I have happening, they don't need to beat Gold Coast to make the 8 with the other results I see happening. But
they do need to beat the Saints.
Well, yes, but I'm saying as long as they have a good showing against Gold Coast this week, and it's a close game, which I think it will be. I think that's fine. They've shown the ability to beat good teams, but they're just very inconsistent.
Yeah.
But I think they're a team that's shown they can play finals footy. They've been a pretty consistent finals team. The only problem I have with the Giants is their inability to win the MCG, and that's something you're going to need to have, particularly if you're in the bottom half of the 8. So I see them being hot getting into the finals series. Even if they do lose this weekend, I think they can still be hot. But I am a bit skeptical about the Giants overall. The team from WA, guys, I'm going to start with Freo. Freo, I think, could go absolutely ice cold. I'm not sold on Fremantle at all.
I love this.
Love this take.
Not sold on them at all. We'll talk more in depth in a few minutes about the Lions game this weekend, but not sold on Freo. They obviously had a big win against Collingwood the other week. They came back, but, with the way Collingwood's forms dipped, we'll see how significant that win really actually was. I think that maybe said more about Collingwood than that did about Freo. I'm a bit sceptical in general about Western Australia teams. We did see the Eagles win a premiership quite some time ago, but we all were still around for that. I was watching that grand final at least. But yeah, Freo, I think they're still a relatively young team. relatively unproven team. And if there's one team in the 8 which I think could absolutely snuff it, I think it is going to be them. Oscar, your thoughts?
I 100% agree. I mean, when you look at the teams that they've versed in the last couple of weeks and the wins that they've gotten, their form falls off. I mean, they've won 5 out of the last 5, but they've versed Port, they versed Carlton, they versed the Eagles, got a good win against the Pies, the struggling Pies, and then beat the Hawks in a good win. And then lost to Sydney the week before that. So I think there is a big possibility that they can go absolutely cold, as you said. I think they are a threatening team, but I just don't think they're gonna at this time in the season against some hard opponents in the next couple of weeks are gonna keep that form. I think there are some very, very hungry teams for them in the next couple of weeks, being the Lions and the Doggies, who are both battling for top 8/top 4 positions. So, I think they're going to struggle. I think they are really going to struggle. I've got them dropping out of the 8 personally.
Wow, that's a big call.
I got them losing both.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. Form-wise, like hot at the moment, but I don't think they haven't versed anyone really
Notable.
notable. I mean, you got a struggling Pies team, but you beat them by 1.
You got you got the Pies you beat by 1. You got the Hawks who are up and down, and then you lost to Sydney.
Well, I'm having
Saints,
a look at
Bombers.
their home record. It's like 10 or 11-1. But teams to note, you've got the Eagles. You got who else? Power. You got
North.
Doggers. Oh, sorry, Bombers. Saints. Eagles again. Blues. I'm not really moved by it at all. Like you can't take away from Sarong and Brenshaw, like still playing well, but I just don't think that's going to carry to finals footy, and I don't have them making it as well. So,
I hate to sort of burst your bubble, guys, but Freo are locked in for the 8. They're currently on 60 points, and the team who's in 9th, which is the Bulldogs, are on 52 points. So even if the Bulldogs win both of the next 2 games, they'll still be on 58 points.
No, because Freo can drop out of the 8 if they lose both. Because they'll lose to us, and then
I'm looking at
yeah. And if they lose, if the Bulldogs beat them, they drop out.
But I'm saying.
They'll go to 9th.
Sorry, I'm wigging.
If they lose both, there's a massive possibility that they drop out.
Sorry, I'm in different terms. AFL's 4 points for
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
They can technically still make it on percentage because they'll be at 60.
Not compared to Giants.
No, well, if the Giants have an absolute shocker.
Yes.
Well, I don't have them beat the Suns. So.
Yeah. Well.
That's all right. Apologies to the viewers. Yes, they can drop out of the 8. I see that now. I didn't think they could. But no, they can drop out of the 8. You're very correct.
And it's going to happen.
Last team, guys. Oscar, I'll start with you. I think, in my opinion, these guys are the X factor for the season. Hawthorn. What are your thoughts, Oscar? Hot or cold?
Yeah, the Hawks are a weird team because they are up and down. I mean, they play a very risky brand of footy, as we all know. They high risk, high reward team. When they're firing on all cylinders, they are absolutely. They look like a different team, but they don't tend to do that all the time, especially in more clutch situations. They don't tend to do that. So I don't know. They're a really up and down team, a hard team to pick. I've got them making the 8. Because I think they'll beat the D's and then lose to the Lions in their final round. So I think they're going to be in the middle. They're going to win a game, then lose a game, in my opinion. I just think the Lions at the Gabba are going to prove too much for them around 24. But I think they'll beat the D's, who are struggling.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love Hockball.
It's very fun. It's very fun to watch.
It's very fun to watch. Great brand of footy. But, yeah, they're really just
They're just up
in
and
the
down.
middle. When they're at their best, I think they're a dark horse completely.
Yeah.
I rated them last season as well. Unfortunately, they fell just a bit short. But I just think they have that potential. Like, you got Jack Gunson turning back the clock.
Yeah, didn't want to do that when he came up for his little Brizzy holiday, did he? God.
Didn't want to do that. No, they're looking. When they're switched on, they're quite dangerous.
The one thing I will say about Hawthorn, I would not want to verse them in the finals. I think they're a team that can absolutely bring it at times, and heading into a game against Hawthorn, with the brand of footy that they play, I think teams can definitely just get blown out of the water by what they can do. But then on the other end of that, Hawthorn can go ice cold. So it is that up and down. It is that up and down.
Yeah, X factor for me, like I said, guys. Look, they've lost a lot of close games this year against good sides.
They have.
And while on one hand that shows their ability to potentially come close but no cigar against those top teams, we've seen many a times before. Just because you're right there, sometimes it only amounts to one or two plays in every game. And in
100%.
the regular season versus the final, sometimes those one or two plays go your way. And those one-score losses or 10-point losses that were in round 15 or round 10, they end up being a one-goal win or a 2-point win in the final. So I think Hawthorn, like you guys said, extremely dangerous. X factor for me, but I definitely wouldn't want to be playing them in the finals. And they're a team with good pedigree as well from the coaching staff. They've got good veteran players, and they've got a great history with the club as well. And I think that sort of plays into it too. That's it for hot and cold, guys. We're going to move into round 23 preview. We're going to head over to Western Australia for the Friday Night Lights, where Brisbane makes the trip out west to face Freo, who are $1.77 favourites. The Lions at $2.05 dogs. 66% chance of rain. There was a bit of rain last week at the Gabba, which didn't end up working too much in Brisbane's favour. I wonder if you put that down to the rain or if you just put that down to a generally poor performance regardless of the conditions. But guys, look, if the Lions lose and GWS beat the Gold Coast, the Lions could see themselves in a bit of hot water, potentially dropping a fair way down the table. Freo, as we said, 5-game win streak in 11 of their last 12, despite the questionable opponents they have been versing. The Lions have won 3 out of their last 5, despite the shock loss. The Lions 3.5, guys. Lachie Neale out for this game. Starcevic, game time decision. But the return of Ryan Lester to bolster the Brisbane backline. Oscar, what are your thoughts on this game? Who do you think wins? And if Brisbane loses this game, are you ready to call their season off?
Well, to answer your first question, I think the Lions are going to win. I think they're going to go, as I said before, when they're faced with adversity, we've seen the Lions step up and win big games. The last couple seasons, I don't know the exact record, our exact record against them at the Optus, but I think they were close games, close-ish games.
Last year, Freo made a very big comeback against the Lions. It was around a 40-point comeback in Optus.
Yeah, so I think it has been, especially for the last few years, has been 50-50. As I said before, though, I don't believe in Fremantle keeping this form up just because of the competition that they have versed. I think the Lions are going to come there and absolutely shock them, even with Lachie Neale out. We saw guys, Josh Dunkley, Will Ashcroft, Hugh McCluggage, other guys step up, and I think they're going to learn a lot from the loss against Sydney, just so they can play their brand of footy. And about the rain, I don't think. I mean, Brisbane plays in the rain. It rains in Brisbane all the time. I don't think that's much of a factor. We have a very possession-based style of footy: kick ball, kick ball, kick ball, inside 50. So, I think that the rain won't really help either side. But yeah, I think we just got to get the fundamentals right this week, and I think they're gonna win. If they do lose, to answer your second question, I still have them making the 8 because I think they will beat I think they're going to beat Hawthorn no matter what. But however, it will be very, very, very scary watch, and I might be going home from that game in tears. So yeah, we'll see it. We'll see how they go this weekend. But I think they're gonna go to Optus and shock the Dockers.
No, I completely agree. I think these are the type of games that Brisbane really thrive on, and they show, who they are. Going out west, versing a team whose record 10-1 at home, odds against you, season on the line, star player out. I think Brisbane will just come in and just show them why they should be respected. Why they're defending champions. Yeah, rain wise, don't think it really matters. Oscar said sort of rains. Rain last week didn't really work for either case. So I think these are the type of games that Lions just bounce back from. You really can't just count them out for no reason. And if they do lose this, I don't think season's over. Hawks at home, finishing off the season. Lions will put away the Hawks, right? I think regardless. I've got them winning both. So yeah, I've still got them in the 8 quite comfortably.
Yeah, look, interesting game. I think that Brisbane, if they do lose this, I would still have them in the 8, I think, but I wouldn't. Even if they beat Hawthorn the week after, if they lose this game, I don't think they could make a deep finals like they did last year. I just think the more that these results pile up, the more that the form goes away from them. I just think that being the reigning premiers, that puts a bit of extra pressure on you. And I think you need to null down that pressure as opposed to letting it build up. In saying that, I think Brisbane have to win this game. I think they will win this game. I don't believe in Freo. I do still believe in the Lions at this point. I think that it's just a game that you talked about, Oscar. It's bounce back ability. They lost a home game to the Giants. They went into Geelong the next week, absolutely killed them in their home ground. Same thing with Collingwood. They had a shock loss to Gold Coast, got the break speed off of them. They went into Collingwood, showed them who's boss. And this is just, good things come in threes. So that's what I'm saying for Brisbane. I'm going to go so far, guys. I'm going to give a priceless pick here. Brisbane plus 3.5, paying $1.91. I think there is a small chance that this is a close game. I think it will be a close game. I think there's a small chance that Brisbane do lose, which is why I would give the plus 3.5 as opposed to head-to-head. It's only 14 cents difference, so I like the value of $1.91. I also don't think the rain is going to play an impact on the overall result. However, I do think the rain is going to play an impact on the score of the game, and I would also advise to take the under on the total points margin, which is currently sitting at 166.5 points, paying $1.88 for the under. That's my priceless pick for these games. I'm not going to give any other bets because I'm not confident in any of the other games, but $1.91, $1.88. I like Brisbane. Any more words?
I'm just going to say one more thing about Brisbane. If it does rain, and rain brings slower scores and whatnot, there are 3 guys that I think really need to step up for Brisbane, and it's Charlie Cameron, it's Calamatu, who has been great to be fair, and Cam Rayner. I think those guys are guys that when they're playing their best footy, it is magnificent to watch, and especially a guy like Charlie Cameron who's been completely out of form. I think in the rain, when the ball isn't going to be marked overhead, if it does rain, in the rain, when the ball's going to be spoiled a lot, it's not going to be too many overhead marks. It's going to crumb out to the ground. I think Charlie Cameron is a guy that needs to be there, be around the pack, scoop up the ball and snap some goals this week.
Yeah, I think Charlie Cameron's in desperate need of some form. And, at this point in his career, he is one of the veteran players. He's one of the guys that they look to give them those big moments. He's got, an explosive play in him out of nowhere. And I think that's something that hasn't been utilised in the past few weeks. It's not quite staying out west, but moving further down south. Adelaide Oval, Crows hosting Collingwood, who are struggling, and the odds reflect this, guys. Crows are $1.39 favourites. The Pies are $3 and 4 dogs. Minus 16.5 is the line for the Crows. Now, Adelaide out for some revenge. Round 10, the Pies defeated the Crows 78-68. I think from what I'm seeing right now, if Adelaide win this, they will pretty much lock up top of the table. I don't see them losing to North the week after. They did survive the West Coast scare last week. I'm going to put that down to them looking ahead to this game against Collingwood, which is the biggest game they've played all season. 10 wins in a row for the Crows. Pies have lost the last 4 of 5. Tyson, who wins this game? And do you think Adelaide should be the favourites to win the premiership?
Crows definitely win this game. You're playing Adelaide Oval. You've got a pretty deflated Pies team, not coming off a good record as of recent. I really think it'll be close, to be honest. I think Crows will just come away and continue their streak on top of the league. Favourites wise for the flag, no, I don't think so. I personally don't have them as favourites. It's sort of hard to say a team, history's shown that teams that they don't win the flag, first try. I think it was last time it happened was 2017 Tigers. No team has really gone in there, won at first try. So they've sort of got to get that finals experience, make a deep push, make a case for themselves, rebuild the next year, find the missing pieces. But yeah, they've had a great season. I think they'll take out the minor premiership, but no, favourites wise, no, I don't think they have it. No.
I also see the Crows winning this game. I think, as Tyson said, Collingwood are absolutely deflated at the minute. That game earlier in the season, Collingwood were a lot in a lot better form. As I said with those stats before, from the opening round of round 17, they were, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. They've dropped off heavily. Going to Adelaide, they're going to struggle. Do I see the Crows? I think they definitely are contenders. They're a very, very scary team, especially when they've got, if they win the minor premiership, they're going to have a few home ground advantage games in hand. I definitely think they can. Make the grand final. I think they do have the ability to make the grand final. Do I see them winning it? That's a different story. Probably not. But I think I do think they can make quite the deep run into the finals. They've been scary all season. They've beaten some very, very good teams. And they've got an absolute great run of form heading into the finals.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think they have played well enough to be the betting favourites to win the flag. Do I think they'll win the flag similar to you, Oscar? I'm not convinced. I do think they win this game as well. Jeremy Howe for Collingwood is out. The other thing I forgot to mention, which is a huge loss for them. He's out with concussion. I think Collingwood is going to throw the absolute kitchen sink at Adelaide, and I think that for the first half, I see this being a relatively close game. I think Collingwood, in my opinion, although I don't expect them to win, I still think really their season is on the line here. They're just dropping too much too quick, and I think they have to win this game if they want to give themselves any chance of winning the flag. Like beating Melbourne at home the week after, that's going to be no impressive feat if they can even do that. I think they really need to give themselves something to cheer about going into the finals. I don't think they'll win this game. I think they'll keep sliding. I think close first half. Second half, I think you'll see Adelaide pull away, if not the fourth quarter, like they did to Hawthorn a few weeks back. I see the Crows taking this game out and then the minor premiership after that. Suns versus Giants, guys. Suns, $1.45 favourites. GWS, $2.79 dogs. The line's 14.5. I think this will effectively decide if the Suns make the top 4. If they win this game, GWS, and the thing we're not talking about, guys, and I deliberately didn't mention this, GWS have beaten Gold Coast the last 14 out of 15 times. They have an incredible record against the Gold Coast Suns. They beat them a couple weeks ago in GWS. They beat them by 7 points, so it was a close game. I still think Gold Coast win. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I think GWS at the line, plus 14.5, I think is too good to refuse, considering both teams are desperate. But GWS's record against Gold Coast has been incredible. But I think the home ground advantage, like we've talked about, I think Gold Coast will pull this one out, especially with Jesse Hogan questionable and Jake Stringer out. I still like Gold Coast. Oscar, your thoughts on this game?
I think Gold Coast are going to take it out. I don't think it's going to be close. It was a close game at the NG Stadium, which GWS is, GWS are very good there. The People's First, they've just been too dominant in my eyes down the coast to lose that game. And I think they're going to take it with a lot of points as well. If Jesse Hogan has that, especially, he kicked 2 goals in their last game. I think the Giants are actually going to struggle. I think the Suns are going to, assert their dominance, that they are actually a contending team in the finals and a scary team to verse in the finals.
Completely agree. I think Suns will take it out for sure. The Man Giants team, especially, Hogan still questionable, Stringer out, forward. Your forwards looking a bit shaky at the moment. That record though, 14 or 15, pretty.
Yeah, but the Suns are a completely different team.
I'm not finished. That's what I'm saying. I'm not finished. You got to keep in mind that Suns are 6-1 at home or whatever it is. Very good form at the moment compared to what we've seen previously. So I think that is going to outweigh the 14 out of 15 record against G-Dubs. And yeah, I think if they win and can go all the way, bring the grand final to the Gold Coast.
Yeah. I mean, you say whatever it was, 14, and was it 14-1? The record. The Gold Coast have been a completely different team this year than the last couple.
I agree. I agree.
Well, I'm just putting that out there. I wouldn't look too much at that record.
No.
I don't think it's daunting these boys either. I don't think they're looking at this 14-1 record and being like, shaking in their boots. They're going to be looking at this record and saying, well, we're a completely different team. We've been dominant all season. This is our home ground. We're not going to let them come over here and make that 15-1. So. Yeah, I think the Gold Coast are going to take this one out fairly easily. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah. Look, we'll see how it goes. I'm interested to see how a 12:35 tip-off, or not tip-off, what do you call it? Jump? Yeah, jump. 12:45 jump is going to go. Very early game. And
yeah, it's crazy. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, no, very early game to start the round. Guys, we're going to move into our finals predictions. I'm going to start to give Oscar and Tyson some time to give their top 8 predictions.
Got it.
And then we can debate the finals after that. So my top 8 after the next 2 games is how I have it. I have the Crows, 72 points up top. Geelong, 68 points in second. Gold Coast in third on 68 points, winning the next 3 games. And I think Brisbane takes out both and snatches 4th spot in 66. I think Collingwood goes 5th. They lose and then win on 64 points. Tied with them would be Freo on 64 points. Then I have Hawthorn in 7th. And I have GWS in 8th. I think the Bulldogs will lose to Freo at home. I know you guys disagree with that. Bulldogs, when they're on, they're on. When they're not, they're not. But I think that GWS will still take the last spot in the 8. Who would like to go first in their 8 before we get into the bracket?
Look, I'm actually up until Collingwood. I do have the Dogs 6 though, Hawks, G-Dubs, and then Freo just missing the 8. Yeah, look, I like we said earlier, I think this is their time where they drop off, and Bulldogs really put belt to arse and make a push at the end there. So yeah, I just think Dogs are the better team.
Yeah, I've got the same. I've got Crows, Cats, Suns, Lions, Pies, Dogs, Hawthorn, GWS. I think Freo drop off, losing both games. I think that, yeah, as Tim had said, I think the Dogs, their list is absolutely amazing when you look at their raw talent on that team. And when they're firing, and I think they're firing it just at the right time. I think Bont and Libba have had magnificent seasons, and they're going to want to press down hard on their necks in these last 2 games. So, yeah, I think the Doggies are going to win the last 2. I think also going into that round 24, I think they're going to have a big win against the Eagles this week. So I think that's going to be a good momentum booster and a good morale booster heading into that last game. And I think Freo, maybe coming off a loss, is going to hurt them in that last round. So I've got the Doggies 6 by percentage.
Look, I don't believe in Freo as a finals team, but I might be putting a bit too much stock into that Collingwood victory, but I think they've shown they can go to Melbourne and win. I mean, saying that the Bulldogs at Marvel, not the MCG, at Marvel, are very, very strong.
Talented team.
So we'll see. I just think the Dogs, in my opinion, might have just left it a little bit too late, but I will not be surprised if Freo do slide out of the 8. Just to clarify, so both of your top 4s were Adelaide, Geelong, Suns and Brisbane.
Yep.
Great. Let's talk about some not prelim finals, the qualifying finals. Crows and Lions. Do you guys see a scenario where Brisbane can go into Adelaide and win that game, Tyson?
Is that set for Neil to come back that round?
Potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
I think he's listed 2 weeks out, but the hamstrings tend to linger.
Yeah. Look, going into Adelaide at the AO, I think Adelaide still have a chance to, show their dominance and win at home. But really depending on Neil, in my opinion, in that game. So I think Lions potentially drop that one off the bat. Yeah, that's what I got at the moment.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it is hard to say. Obviously, the form coming into the finals for the Lions, I do think the Adelaide Crows will win. I don't think we can go to Adelaide and win very easily, at least. It is going to be a struggle. I think Adelaide will probably take it out. I'm barracking, obviously, for the Lions, but I think Adelaide will probably take that out. I think if Lachie Neale's back and all the boys are healthy, I think that it could definitely be a close game, and we could definitely take them to it, especially being quite the experienced finals team by now. But I do have the Crows probably edging them out a little bit.
Yeah. Look, I'm the same. Brisbane, I think, could have a good fight, but I think the Crows, Adelaide Oval will be buzzing. Yeah. At this point in the finals, I would trust the Crows a lot more than I would in the prelim, let's say, and I think that they can beat Brisbane in that game. They've already done it once this year, albeit it was a close game. They still pulled it out. So I would have the Crows advancing to the prelims as well. That would leave the Cats and the Suns, which I think is a dream scenario for Geelong, if I'm being honest. Having a team that's in their first ever finals game coming to you.
At the G though, Luka.
Sorry?
At the MCG, not the GMHPA.
Well, I think this one would be...
I think they're playing their last game. I think they've played their last game at the GMHPA.
Right, well, look, I would trust you on that. I'm pretty sure they did have a finals game. I know the prelim finals are definitely going to be at the G if Geelong makes it that far, but I'm pretty sure because Gold Coast is a Queensland team, not a Melbourne team, they would keep that final in Geelong if it were to be there. You can fact check me on that. Even if they're not in Geelong, I still think it's a dream scenario. Regardless of the ground, the fact that you're still going to have somewhat of a home ground advantage, but more so because the team that you're versing, it's their first ever finals game. You're going to be in red hot form. You've already beaten them once this season. I think it's a dream scenario for Geelong to advance straight to the prelims. You found it yet, Oscar?
Geelong Cats snubbed for home AFL finals despite GMHBA capacity boost. That's what I'm reading right now.
Yeah, right. Tyson, your thoughts on a Geelong Gold Coast qualifying final? Could you see the Suns making an upset?
Nope. Nah, Cats. I got Cats taking that one for sure, quite comfortably. No further comments, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Cats are too classy. I mean, the Suns are a very good team, but I just think the Cats have too much going on right now for the Suns to handle all that.
Yeah. And yeah, Oscar, to fact check again, they won't have a home final.
Which does suck because they boosted they boosted up to 40,000 seats, but it is what it is.
I think fair enough if you're playing Collingwood, but I think that I would rather have 40,000 seats in Geelong and have
the
that
whiteout.
game.
Try out the whiteout again.
Yeah.
How'd that go last time?
Shocker.
They need to do it like Penn State, doesn't they? They need to do it against an actual bad team so they can win and make it look cool. That was their first mistake. But listen, guys, because we have slightly different teams. I'm going to go straight to the prelims and tell you how I got there. So I would have Geelong facing Brisbane in the prelim. I think Brisbane, after losing to Adelaide, I would have Brisbane playing GWS, who would beat Collingwood in that elimination final.
Wow.
So I would have Brisbane GWS, which would be in Brisbane. I'd have Brisbane beating GWS and versing Geelong. However, I think Geelong would get revenge on Brisbane after last year's prelim final. I'm expecting some big things for the Cats in this final series. I'm not going to lie, guys. And I think that Geelong, based on this season and based on last year, they need to beat Brisbane because Brisbane's starting to come as a bit of their bogey team, if I'm being honest. Brisbane is really sort of starting to get Geelong's number.
Used to be the other way around.
It did used to be the other way around. I remember I was there for the very, very famous game where Ashley McGrath kicked a 55-metre bomb on the buzzer to give Brisbane I think it was a 60-point comeback at the start of the fourth quarter. I think I was about 11 years old, maybe younger. And since then, Brisbane have had a pretty good record against Geelong. But if Geelong can't beat them in this game, they're going to have a very hard time in the future because Brisbane and Geelong are going to be two of the top clubs moving forward. I am willing to say for the next decade, to be honest with you. I have Geelong winning. From the other side, Adelaide, I would have them versing Hawthorn, who I think would beat Freo, and then I would have them beating Gold Coast after losing to Geelong. I think Gold Coast, I think they're a year away. I think it's a great season for them, and I think they'll make the top four. I think they're a year away off the premiership. I think Hawthorn makes the prelim finals. And guys, I have Hawthorn versing Geelong in the finals. I love an X Factor. I'm sorry. I think Adelaide, I just don't trust them in this game would be in Adelaide, but I just don't trust them in the finals. And Tyson, you sort of mentioned it. They could make the grand final and lose there, but I think you need to get your stripes. I think you need to earn your stripes. And I don't think Adelaide have earned any just yet. I think Hawthorn, I actually had Hawthorn in the grand final at the start of the year. I really had them up there, and so I'm backing them off that. I think they're a dangerous team. I don't want to play them. But Geelong and Hawthorn grand final, before I tell you guys who wins that, Oscar, I want to hear your prelim picks.
So I have in my prelims, and then I'll tell you how I got there. I've got prelim 1, the Crows versus the Suns. Prelim 2, Geelong versus the Lions. I have in the elimination, I've got the Pies beating the Giants, then versing the Lions beating them at home, and then versing the Cats in the prelim. And then in the other side, I've got the Hawks beating the Western Bulldogs, the Hawks losing to the Suns, then the Crows versus the Suns. For my grand final, sorry Melbourne fans, I have an interstate grand final again.
Nuts.
The Crows versus the Lions at the MCG, and the Lions winning at the MCG back to back, beating Geelong at the MCG. The Lions have now proven that they can win there against good teams, against bad teams. They've proven finally after years and years of hard struck that they can win at the MCG consistently. And I think it's not yet time for the Crows to take that next step. And I think they would have made a valiant run into the grand final, but I think the Lions are going to take it out for the back-to-back grand final premiers.
I love that scenario.
What do you got, T? Similar?
First prelim, I've got Crows versus Hawks.
Yep.
How I got there, I had the Hawks beating Doggies, and then Hawks being in great form, beating the Suns.
Wow. Suns will be at home as well. Wow. At the people's
That's
first.
That's Hawkball. That's Hawkball.
That's Hawkball, apparently.
Honestly, can I just say something about that? Just, if Geelong has to go to the G, Gold Coast should have to go to the Gabba. Just quietly.
Yeah, you are right. You're all right. But it is what it is.
Anyway, just sorry for my aside, but Tyson, please continue.
Right. And second prelim, Cats versus Lions, obviously. Pies beating the Giants, Lions beating the Pies, getting to the prelim. And then Crows beating the Hawks, and Lions beating the Cats.
So it'll be a Lions Crows grand final.
Oh, who's gonna win this one?
And then winning the grand final, I've got the Lions going back to back.
There it is.
I've got the Lions going back to back. It'll be good. So much. The scenes will be crazy. Atmosphere going wild. Yeah, it'll just be a great day for Victoria.
Another great final.
Oscar, you threw me for a curve. When you said interstate grand final, I thought you were going to say it was going to be a Brisbane Gold Coast.
I thought you said that as well.
You know what? That is the dream scenario. A Queensland granny would be a dream. I wouldn't even care if the Lions lost that one. If the Suns went out and win it, I wouldn't even care. A Queensland granny would shut up all the Victorians. Oh, it would have been great. I did just look that up, Luka. It does look like they are playing at the People's First in the final. If they make a home.
Yeah,
final.
I personally think that's ridiculous. But anyway, look, besides the point, I wonder if there was a scenario where Brisbane and the Gold Coast would play, if they would make, even if Gold Coast were the home team, they would make them play. But I just think that's, anyway, whatever. Who cares? Geelong's going to win the grand final regardless. I don't really care where they play. Personally, I think they're absolute value at $4.50 to win the premiership. Get them right now. They're $2.15 just to make the grand final.
What are the Crows at?
The Crows are $3.75 to win the premiership, and I think they're $1.80 to make the grand final. But Geelong at $2.15 to make the big dance, or $4.75 to win the premiership. $4.50 to win the premiership. I just think it's absolute value with how they're playing. Jeremy Cameron's going to go for the ton. I think he'll get it. I think. What? You don't think he'll get it?
How many does he need?
He needs 30 goals? No, it's 27 goals.
Oh, okay.
Including the finals.
I was about to say, is he scoring 15 a game in the next series?
No. Including the finals.
He should get it in the finals.
I think including the finals. Geelong is poised. I think that I have doubts about Chris Scott. I'm not going to lie. I think that he should have won more premierships than he has. And I think the years that we've seen Geelong win the premiership under Chris Scott, I think they've been far and away the best team with the most talent. And I think that's what they have currently in line with their form. Brisbane, for me, I think will be their grand final. I think if they can overcome that hurdle, I think they will beat Adelaide or Hawthorn, although I do have Hawthorn in there. I think it's Geelong's year. I'm not biased like you guys. I will happily pick against Geelong if I think they wouldn't win. Just like I pick against my Clippers all the time. Whereas Brisbane going back to back is really, really challenging, guys. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't just happen like that, you know. I think that there's a couple of flaws you might be overlooking with the Lions, but look,
No
we
flaws.
shall see. We shall see how it goes. Any final remarks, Tyson, before we head off for today?
Could be going for a three-peat at the moment. Make it 4 next year. No. Love the Lions. Go Lions. Watch out.
Yeah, I just think that there are a lot of teams in red hot form coming to this, so I think it is all a dice roll. I mean, you could pick any of these teams to go to the granny pretty much, but I just think the Lions have that experience. They know how to win big games. They know how to win from behind, and you know, with the injection of Lachie Neale, especially if they win the next 2 games, they're going to have a pretty happy side going into the final. So I see them dropping a game to the Crows early, but
Yeah.
I see them
Yeah,
fixing things up, tighten up the screws.
Yeah. Look, we'll see how it goes, guys. AFL in full swing, and this, guys, is going to be the last episode for Priceless Takes for quite some time, which I haven't said publicly just yet, but I'm
Damn.
making this announcement now. I am moving across the world for the next 6 months. I'm going to be living in Europe, and it's going to be very, very challenging to make episodes with the time difference, also with time in general. I'm going to be extremely busy. So this is going to be the last ever
Back for
long
NBA
form.
season.
Well, yeah. It's going to be the last long form Priceless Takes episode until further notice, looking to come back and doing the long episodes around January next year, the start of next year. But just because we're not doing long form episodes does not mean we are staying quiet. We will still be super active on socials. I'm going to definitely switch up to some more creative content. I'm going to start doing some power rankings. I'm going to start doing some more betting stuff because the NFL is also in full swing, and the NFL is my bread and butter. So that's where we're going to go, guys. But thank you all for being very faithful viewers over the past a couple years now, but in particular for this last year. Tyson and Oscar, thank you for joining me once again to talk some footy.
Thank you for
And
inviting us, man.
Thank you very much, Luka.
yeah, we'll see how the
Always
season
happy to be
goes.
here.
Yeah, guys, listen, make sure to always follow us on social medias. As like I said, that's where we're going to be posting a lot more in the coming months. But guys, thank you for joining and listening in to Priceless Takes. I'm your host, Luka Price, and we'll see you next time.